In a convent, Sister Mary is praying in front of a picture of the Virgin Mary for a few minutes. Then she takes off her veil and moves the picture to hide writing on the wall. After grabbing her bag, Mary sneaks into the Mother Superior's room to steal the keys. Then she runs to the gate and tries every key to open it. You're watching Cinedigest, and this is Movie Recapped. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more awesome stories. At that moment, 4 nuns approach her, and the terrified Mary finally manages to unlock the lock. But unfortunately, the chain is jammed, and she can only open a small gap, so she squeezes herself through it. As she drops to the other side, a nun grabs her leg and pulls her back, and Mary's leg breaks as she's pushed against the bars of the gate. The horrible pain makes her pass out. When she wakes up, she lights a match and finds herself inside a coffin. She cries and tries to open it, but it won't move, which means she has been buried alive. Mary keeps screaming for help, but nobody comes. Meanwhile, American novice Cecilia is at Italian customs, and a soldier is checking her bag. Another officer says she doesn't have a return ticket and she hasn't learned Italian yet, so the process is taking longer. The two of them think she's wasting her youth by joining a convent. Then they give her papers back and let her leave. Deacon Enzo picks up Cecilia, and they drive for hours through the countryside until they reach the convent. The Mother Superior welcomes her in Italian, and Cecilia doesn't understand, so Isabel translates. The Mother Superior asks Isabel to show Cecilia her room. Isabel tries to refuse, but the Mother Superior forces her. As they walk, Isabel tells Cecilia the convent was built in 1632 as a refuge for elderly nuns. The building is above the catacombs of St. Stephen, and those are strictly forbidden. They pass through rooms full of older women, and Isabel greets them kindly, then tells Cecilia one nun will die next week from a tumor. Cecilia is shocked at how casually she says it, but Isabel explains that death is a normal part of convent life. When a confused elderly nun named Francesca asks about her father, Isabel goes to her and tells Cecilia it's better to go along with her illusions as long as she's not violent. Cecilia stops to listen to the chanting and sees a nun staring at her. Isabel pulls her to the room while explaining the daily schedule. And when Cecilia says she's proud to serve, Gwen said sweet in a mocking way, warning her that this is a tough place. Later in the bathroom, Gwen suddenly appears in the steam, secretly. They talk, and Gwen says her old church closed because no one was attending anymore. Then Father Tedeschi brought her here, and Gwen says he's good at finding runaways. At night, a special mass is held for the novices to take their vows. The girls walk down the hallway with torches, and Cecilia meets Father Tedeschi personally for the first time. Cardinal Franco conducts the ceremony and speaks with each novice individually. Tedeschi translates for Cecilia before she receives her rosary. She's happy to take the vows but hesitates before kissing Franco's ring. After that, there's a dinner party to celebrate. Cecilia talks with Tedeschi, who admits he used to love science when he was younger, but God showed him the way. In return, Cecilia shares that when she was 12, she played on a frozen river and the ice broke. She fell into freezing water. The paramedics saved her after her heart stopped for almost 7 minutes. She believes God saved her for a purpose, and she wants to find out what it is. When she goes to the bathroom, she hears strange crying. She follows the sound to the church and finds a woman kneeling on the floor behind the altar. She comes closer and is shocked to see her face covered with a strange red mask. Suddenly, she feels someone behind her, but it's the Mother Superior, who reassures her and says the woman is a nun lost in prayer. The Mother Superior then takes a nail from a box and says it's from the toe of Christ, placing it in Cecilia's hand. As she talks about the suffering of Christ, Cecilia gets dizzy and passes out. The next day, Cecilia confesses her mistake and says she drank too much and is sorry she embarrassed herself in front of the Mother Superior, promising to do better.
The priest in the confessional doesn't respond but looks at her, then disappears into the dark. Cecilia is confused, and suddenly hands come out of the wall and drag her behind it. Terrified, she's thrown onto a bed in a strange room, and 5 nuns with red masks appear. Mysterious hands grab her face before one of them stabs her with a dagger. But at that moment, Cecilia wakes up terrified. She looks around and finds Francesca standing at the door staring at her. Cecilia turns on the light and the woman disappears. In the morning, the Mother Superior talks to the young nuns about their duties. At the table, Gwen keeps talking nonstop, and the Mother Superior scolds her. Later, Isabel shows them their tasks, washing the elderly nuns, laundry, and slaughtering chickens for dinner. As days pass, Gwen and Cecilia grow closer and share fun moments, even though they keep seeing many nuns die. One day, Cecilia notices Isabel watching her from afar before disappearing. At night, Cecilia wakes up feeling someone beside her and finds Francesca cutting her hair. Francesca says she's blessed and everyone loves her, but Cecilia doesn't understand Italian. She takes her to the infirmary and covers her, noticing they call her Saint Cecilia. The blanket doesn't cover Francesca's legs, and Cecilia gets closer and sees cross-shaped wounds. The next day she tells Gwen what happened and says the place is weird, but Gwen says it's still better than where she came from. There was a boy who used to beat her, and when she hit him back, she was punished with a support group run by nuns, and that's when she decided to become a nun. Suddenly, Cecilia throws up and goes to Dr. Gallo for tests. While waiting, she hears a noise and looks out the window, seeing a masked nun walking outside. At that moment, a crow smashes into the glass, scaring her. She stares at the bird for a second, then follows the Mother Superior to a room where Franco, Tedeschi, and Gallo are waiting for her. Franco is angry and asks if she was with a man, and she swears she wasn't. Gallo confirms she was a virgin when he examined her the first time she arrived. The Mother Superior says no visitors were nearby and hides Cecilia's red file in a drawer. Then they take her to the infirmary and Gallo performs an ultrasound and announces she's pregnant. After the shock, Franco says the child was conceived without sin and is a miracle. But Cecilia is terrified and panicking. She asks Tedeschi, "Why me?" He says maybe that's why God saved her back then, reminding her that the meek will inherit the earth. They give her ceremonial clothing and take her to the church, where the nuns sing for her. 5 months later, Cecilia wakes up dizzy, throws up blood, and discovers one of her teeth fell out. At breakfast, everyone stands in respect except Gwen. Cecilia is spoiled with food and forbidden from working so she can focus on the baby. Gwen mocks her and says soon they'll call her Mary. Then, while showering, suddenly Isabel tries to drown her. They struggle, Cecilia bites her and escapes, but Isabel attacks again, screaming, "It should have been me," until the nuns pull her away. Later, Cecilia days to the infirmary and Gallo confirms the baby is fine. She talks about Isabel's words and asks for an explanation, but Tedeschi says Isabel is mentally ill and he will prevent it from happening again. Cecilia becomes anxious and asks to go to a real hospital, saying she lost a tooth. But the men fear the news will spread publicly, so she must stay until the Savior is born. As she walks in the convent, she sees 2 masked nuns in the window. Suddenly, a nun falls from the roof and everyone screams. Cecilia runs and sees it's Isabel, and her face is horribly disfigured. At the funeral, Gwen tells Cecilia she doesn't trust this place or what's inside her. Tedeschi interrupts them, but Gwen ignores him, curses, and accuses them all of lying until she's dragged away. That night, Cecilia can't sleep. Suddenly, the chain of a picture snaps and the frame hangs crooked. She discovers it hides writing on the wall, a Bible verse in Italian. She checks her Bible and reads about Satan disguising himself as an angel of light. Worried, she goes to find Gwen but can't. Then she checks the office for her file, but the drawer is locked. A sound is heard and a light turns on in another room, then quickly goes dark. She grabs a knife, forces open the drawer, and takes her file. She finds a news report about her accident and DNA test results. Suddenly, she hears Gwen screaming and follows the sound to a wooden door. She looks through the peephole and sees Gwen tied to a chair while masked nuns cut her tongue out.
Terrified, she backs away and someone grabs her from behind. It's Francesca, who gives her a charm made from her own hair. Cecilia begs her to help her escape, but Francesca tells her in English, "You will never leave this convent." The next morning, everyone wakes up to Cecilia's screaming. The supervisors rush to her room and find her stomach bleeding. Gallo has the day off, so the Mother Superior agrees to take her to the hospital. Tedeschi refuses at first, but Cecilia begs, so they take her to the car. After they leave, the Mother Superior finds a feather, and instead of blood, she discovers a dead chicken under the bed that Cecilia used. On the road, Tedeschi gets a call with the truth, so the driver stops. Cecilia realizes her trick is exposed and tries to escape, but they quickly catch her and take her back. At the convent, the Mother Superior forces her into an ice-cold shower. Cecilia says God won't forgive them, so the Mother Superior slaps her. Then they strap her to a wheelchair and take her to the room behind the altar. From their words, Cecilia realizes someone here made her pregnant and demands answers. Tedeschi takes the nail and explains they found on it traces of blood and bone containing the genetic code of Christ, and that this could be the chance for Jesus to return. When she calls him crazy, he shows her preserved remains from failed attempts. He admits he's been trying to resurrect Christ for 20 years and saw Cecilia as the best vessel.
Then he shows her his lab and explains he used to be a genetic scientist, and when his colleagues rejected him, he turned to the church, which allowed these experiments. Enzo grabs her leg and Tedeschi brands both himself and her with a hot cross. Then she's left alone. She tries to get out of the chair, but her injured leg makes her fall. She crawls to the door, but finds it locked and breaks down. Weeks later, she goes to confess to Franco and asks many questions, but he's silent. She plays with the rosary, breaks a nail, and finds sticky gel on her finger. Finally, Franco says if this wasn't God's will, he would have stopped them long ago. Days before the due date, Gallo performs another ultrasound and confirms the baby is moving. He leaves to look for medicine and forgets the door. Cecilia takes a cross and beats the Mother Superior's head until she dies. As she walks out, she feels wetness and realizes her water broke. On a balcony, she surprises Franco and strangles him with the rosary. He dies, and Gallo sees it and runs away. Cecilia takes a lighter and goes to the church as the contractions get stronger. She refuses to give up, takes the holy nail, and goes to the lab spraying ethanol everywhere. Tedeschi appears and tries to approach her, but Cecilia threatens her with the lighter. He tries to convince her, saying even if she dies, they'll find another vessel. His words are interrupted by another contraction, and he tries to take the lighter from her. Cecilia smashes a bottle on his head and runs, locking the door. Tedeschi reaches through a window and grabs her hair, so she breaks his finger. She sees ethanol dripping under the door and throws the lighter. The lab bursts into flames and explodes. Cecilia thinks it's over, but Tedeschi puts out the fire and breaks the door. Cecilia is in pain and crawls down to the catacombs. She finds a flashlight and hides. She waits for him to pass, then turns it on again, shocked by Gwen's tortured corpse. She runs again and finds an exit hole and climbs, but Tedeschi drags her down. He grabs her, prays, cuts her dress, exposes her belly, and pulls out a scalpel, slicing her open as she screams in agony. She focuses, pulls out the nail, and stabs his neck until he dies. Then she pushes his body off and gets outside. She collapses and screams as she finally gives birth. She bites off the umbilical cord, but is horrified when the baby makes monstrous noises. Scared of it, she grabs a big rock and smashes the baby's head, killing it. Subscribe and hit the bell to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and that's the end of today's movie. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Cine Digest for more amazing stories with Movie Recapped.